Good morning. All right, so this week I wanted to talk about something else, but I woke up this morning and I was like, no, I don't want to talk about that. And so, if you know me, I'm all about flow and being in alignment and doing what feels good. So, I decided to go in a different direction. And yesterday, I had this really incredible conversation with a client where I shared with them an experience I had using mushroom medicine or essentially tripping on mushrooms years ago. And it was actually something that totally and completely shifted how I showed up in my life and how I was looking at things. And so, because of this conversation yesterday, it's not something I share all the time. And randomly on occasions, it just pops up. A few months ago, I shared this story in the same week with 4 or 5 different clients. And so it's happening again. And so I've decided to share it with you so that you could kind of use it for your own growth, your own transformation, your own expansion. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ilsa Comtier. I'm a therapist, I'm an energy healer, and I'm also a strategist. I work with healers, transformational coaches, and I help them get visible online and get fully booked in a way that feels good, that feels aligned, and that feels authentic to them. All right, so let me tell you, by the way, if you're here, whether you're here live or you're here in the replay, say hi. I always like to know who's watching. So let me tell you about this. So first of all, let me say, I think plant medicine can be extremely valuable. I haven't experimented with it a ton myself, but I know people who've had absolutely amazing experiences, whether that's ayahuasca, whether that's mushrooms or peyotes or different things. A few years ago, I had an experience with magic mushrooms, and it was actually not a pleasant experience, but there was something about that experience and the insight I got that totally shifted myself and also the way I was approaching life. So let me tell you what happened. I realized, and this is something that's really powerful when you're under the influence that way, is everything is obviously expanded, and I feel like everything happens faster. And so things that you may not notice in your regular life suddenly become very, very visible when you are under the influence that way because they're more central. It's almost like there's a spotlight on them. So I was starting the experience and I suddenly got very anxious. And I realized I was anxious and I was like, oh no, I'm anxious. What's going on? What's happening? And I had this movement of saying, what was I thinking that made me anxious? And I realized that the thought I had was, oh, I hope those mushrooms are not too strong. I hope I don't lose control. For those of you who don't know me really well, I'm a little bit of a control freak, even though I like to be in flow and alignment. Definitely, I also like to have a plan and to be in control, especially of myself, which doesn't lend well with plant medicine. And so I realized that the thought I had totally, like almost instantaneously, shifted me. And suddenly I was anxious. And I looked around and everything looked ugly. Now, remember, I'm tripping, right? But I looked around and it's like it was fall. The trees didn't have any leaves on them at that point. They looked threatening. They looked like they were about to attack me. My dogs, for those of you who know me, I am a dog mama. I love my dogs. I don't have kids, so they are my kids. My dog, it's like my dog showed up with her wagging tail and her grin, and she looked like she was going to try to eat me. It was very intense. And I realized that all of it started with the thought. I had a negative thought, which led to a negative feeling, an anxiety, fear. And suddenly I was looking at the world and seeing it through that lens of fear. And it was palpable. In regular life, it's like, oh, we have a thought, but it takes a while, it feels like, for our system. And so the thought leads to a feeling that's a little later. And then like our day's going shitty, but we're not linking the fact that it's literally connected. Oh, I started having a negative thought, which led to a negative feeling. Now my outlook is negative, and my whole day, I'm literally seeing my whole day through that lens and being affected. In regular life, it just doesn't line up quite in this way. We don't see how they're all connected. But when I was under the influence, it was so clear that any thought I had would lead to a particular feeling, and that feeling would shift my experience. Literally, I would start seeing different things. I would see it in a completely different way. So I started experimenting because I'm an experimenter. I've been into meditation, I've been into energy work since I was a teenager. So I love to experiment and see how I can grow and expand. So I started on purpose looking for pleasant thoughts. And like I turned towards a plant that was in my family room at the time. And I was like, oh, look how well this plant is doing. It's so beautiful. It's grown so much. And that was the thought. And suddenly I felt gratitude and awe and wonder at how this plant, which was it was a money tree. For those of you who don't know, it was a money tree that we'd found, and it was like super tiny and kind of in the dark room, and kind of like somebody moved out of an apartment and left it essentially. And it hadn't been watered, and I brought it home, and now it's like it had tripled in size almost in a year. And so I focused on this money tree, and gratitude flooded me almost right away. And then I looked around, and my dog was back to being this most beautiful, friendly, funny being. And I looked outside, and the trees were like welcoming me. And I could really see how my thoughts were shifting my feelings and were shifting my experience of life. And it started to really, and I started taking notes. So here I am, I'm tripping. My husband's like, of course, you, instead of being in the moment, would be taking notes and figuring this thing out. I see somebody saying, it's like, I tried ayahuasca. Yeah. I have not done that. It's probably something I will do at some point, but I have not tried that myself. And that shifted how I showed up in my business. Because, and I spoke about this a few weeks ago when I did a live on the life coaching method, where, you know, this concept that your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings create the actions you take, and the actions you take create your results. And that's true in life, that's true in relationships, and that's true in business. And so being able to start reverse engineering, if I want to feel a certain way in my marriage, in my business, in my life, if I want a certain result, a certain level, a certain number of clients, what's the action I need to take? But to be able to take this action, what's the feeling I need to have and hold on to? And for me to have that feeling, what do I need to be thinking and believing? Because if I'm thinking and believing I can't, if I'm thinking and believing I'm unworthy, if I'm thinking and believing no one wants what I have to offer, if I'm thinking and believing, you know, I suck at this, if I'm thinking and believing I don't have what it takes, I don't have the energy, I don't have enough experience, whatever it is that we think, then we're going to have feelings that align with that. And those feelings are going to completely shift our reality. They're going to shift what we see, what we don't see, what opportunities show up, what we say yes to, no to, and the actions we take. And all of that is going to provide the results, whether it's the results we want or not. So if I don't think I'm good enough, if I don't think anybody wants what I have, if I don't think anybody's going to pay me for what I offer, then I'm going to create that. I'm going to feel dejected. I'm going to feel low energy, low vibe. I'm going to show up in that way. Of course, I'm not going to get any clients, or I'm going to attract only clients who don't want to work with me. And then I'm going to actually literally prove myself right. And so there's something I talk about with clients that I call the success signature, which actually came out of that trip. And the success signature is this idea that if you envision what you want, the highest level of accomplishment of your goal, and that's going to be different for all of you, right? For some of you, it's going to be a 7-figure business. For some of you, it's going to be traveling all over the world and working from the beach. For some of you, it's going to be having 5 really nice high-end clients that you just work with and having a very specific boutique, business. For some of you, it's going to be, oh no, I want a group. I want to show up and just do videos and do group healings and just answer question in a group and have a beautiful community. And that's what I want to do. Everybody's different, right? But if you imagine your highest level of achievement, and you imagine having gotten that, the thing you've worked for, the thing you've wanted, the thing you most desire that would make you feel like you've really accomplished your sacred work in the world, like you're living a life of purpose, of meaning, you're being a lighthouse, you're changing the consciousness of this planet in some ways, and you're deeply fulfilled. Like not only deeply fulfilled in your work, but deeply fulfilled in your life. What's the feeling? What's the feeling? What's the sense? What are the words that you are telling yourself? So, for me, it might be like the feeling might be pride and fulfillment. And maybe the thought might be, I'm born for this. I knew I was born for this. I'm changing the world. I'm making an amazing impact. That might be that mix of these words and these particular feelings is your success signature. It is literally the energetic signature of your highest, most soulful success. And oftentimes, that is what we have to hang on to. We have to hang on to that success signature so that we take actions that are essentially in energetic alignment and in similar vibration to that success signature. And all of that came from that trip, the realization of how much our perception of life, the choices we make, how we experience life, actually comes from the thoughts we have and the feelings we feel based on these thoughts. So that's my little lesson for today. Oh my God, I think this has been like the fastest live. Just being aware and taking full responsibility for the thoughts that you have. And if you are feeling down, if you are feeling dejected or disappointed, being able to really sense, like, what are the thoughts, what are the beliefs that I'm playing in the background as a loop? And are those beliefs life enhancing? Are those thoughts actually helping? Are they helping me shift out of that feeling that I don't want? Or are they indulging and nourishing the feeling? And are they going to lead to actions and vibrations that will lead to the results I want? Because that's the thing, in whether it's in business, whether it's in your relationships or in your life, the results you get always follow action, and those actions always follow being in alignment with some kind of feeling and thought and belief about yourself, about the world, about your partner. I mean, if we're talking about relationships, if I'm thinking my husband's a jerk, well, there's no way I can create a loving, amazing relationship. I'm thinking my husband's a jerk. I'm feeling frustrated and resentful. Out of that frustration and resentful, I'm being passive aggressive and not loving, and out of that behavior and those actions creates disconnection, friction, whatever it may be. And so being able to say, okay, this friction, this disconnection, where did it come from? Oh, it came from me thinking my husband was being a jerk and feeling resentful and disappointed, and then acting passive aggressive, and now we're back, and it's literally a vicious cycle. And so at some point it's like, we got to break that, and we got to start thinking and believing different things that are going to align with what we want to create. So, this is the beauty of plant medicine, is it puts your shit right in your face, and there's no way you can't see the thread. There's no way you can't see how this created this, and it's all one thing that's interconnected. In regular life, everything's a little further apart. Like, it's in 3D, it's not in 5D. It almost feels like plant medicine is like 5D experience. Regular life is 3D experience. So everything, we don't see the thread. We don't see how things are connected. Just like we don't see how I'm connected to you, and you're connected to me, and we're connected to each other, and we're connected to this life, and it's all one flow. We don't see that in 3D. but we can definitely see that when you're experiencing plant medicine. And so our job, our work, as we shift into a new paradigm in this world, is to literally start playing around with 5D ideas, 5D ways of being, 5D ways of thinking, whether it's in our life, in our businesses, in our relationships, in our health, it doesn't matter. So that we can create a 5D reality. You know, we're back to our good friend Einstein, who said we can't solve any problem from the same level of thinking that created it. We are in a time, in a place in history where if you want different results, whether that is in yourself, in your life, in your business, in your relationship, if you want different results, you've got to elevate your thinking. You've got to elevate how you show up. You've got to elevate the way you feel, which is linked to your thinking and your beliefs, so that you can get the results you want. And that's what we need to do as light workers, as light bearers, as change makers in this world. Is we essentially need to be, to quote another great man, the change we want to see, and then the change happens and the change occurs. So that's what I have to say. If you want help growing your business, if you want help getting fully booked in a way that feels really good to you, feels really aligned, and in a way that works. I think there's a lot of people out there who are teaching things that worked 3, 4, 5 years ago and no longer work. There are strategies that essentially their program hasn't evolved. They're still showing you the same videos they recorded 3, 5, 6, 10 years ago. And everything has shifted in terms of growing your business, especially since COVID. The algorithm is different. People are different. Everything's different. And so, you know, now we need to evolve with the time if we want to stay expanding, growing, in our business. So if that feels aligned for you and you would like to just sit with me, let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can collaborate. Let's see how I can support you, how you can support me. You know, like, let's be humans together who are in a partnership for essentially changing the world. That's what really lights me up. And I love to connect with people who are spiritually conscious and want to make a difference in the world. So just put hashtag connect in the comments or send me a message on Messenger, and we'll have a chat, and I'll also look at your business and see kind of where you're stuck in terms of reaching your goals, so that you can have that next right step in your business. All right, guys, I don't think I see any questions or comments. I'm not doing a very good job of watching. Oh, I see Sharon did make a few comments. Martin Andrews made a few comments. Magdalena. Sharon's here. Guys, thank you so much for showing up and saying hi to me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if you've had any amazing experience with plant medicine that has shifted the way you view the world and the way you show up in the world, whether in your work or in your relationship or just in regular life, share it. Put a little comment under there, and let's share how plant medicine can help all of us potentially grow and evolve as humans, but also as healers and transformational coaches and conscious entrepreneurs, essentially. All right, guys, have a wonderful week or rest of your week, and I will see you next week.